So today I want to talk about something that most military analysts are completely missing about this war. Everyone is focused on the missile strikes, the air strikes, the technology, the firepower. America has conducted over 7,000 strikes on Iranian targets. America has the most advanced military in human history. Aircraft carriers, stealth bombers, precision missiles, total air superiority. And yet, despite all of this overwhelming military power, America cannot win this war. And the reason why is very simple. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, and whoever controls the Strait of Hormuz controls the global economy. Let me explain what I mean by this. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway, only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, sitting between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. And through this tiny 21-mile choke point flows approximately 21 million barrels of oil per day. 21 million barrels. That is roughly 21% of global oil consumption passing through this single narrow strait every single day. Japan imports 75% of its energy from the Gulf. South Korea imports over 70%, China imports 40%, India imports 60%. All of it has to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. There is no alternative route, there is no backup plan. If the Strait of Hormuz closes, the entire global economy stops. And here's what America is now discovering. Iran can close that strait whenever it wants. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing the US Navy can do to stop it. Let me walk you through why this is true. Because once you understand the geography, the military reality, and the economic mathematics of this choke point, you will understand why Iran has already won this war strategically, regardless of what happens on the battlefield. So let us start with the geography. The Strait of Hormuz is not open water. It is a narrow channel surrounded on both sides by Iranian territory and Iranian-controlled islands. The northern coast is Iran. The southern side has several small islands, Abu Musa, the Tums, all controlled by Iran. This means that any ship passing through the strait is sailing within range of Iranian coastal missiles, Iranian anti-ship missiles, Iranian drones, and Iranian fast attack boats. The entire strait is a kill zone, and the US Navy knows this. Now, the American military has spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. The US Navy has multiple aircraft carrier strike groups in the region. It has Aegis destroyers with advanced radar and missile defense systems. It has submarines. It has air superiority. On paper, the US Navy should be able to keep the strait open. But here is the problem. Modern naval warfare is not about ships fighting ships anymore. It is about missiles fighting ships. And in a missile versus ship equation, the missiles win. Let me explain why. An American aircraft carrier costs approximately $13 billion to build. $13 billion. It carries over 5,000 sailors. It is a floating city with enormous strategic value. And Iran can threaten that $13 billion asset with missiles that cost less than $1 million each. This is called asymmetric warfare. Iran does not need to match America's naval power. It just needs to make the cost of operating in the Strait of Hormuz unacceptably high. And it has already done that. Iran has developed a layered anti-access area denial strategy, what military analysts call A2AD. This means Iran has built multiple overlapping systems designed to prevent the US Navy from operating freely in the Persian Gulf. First layer, coastal anti-ship missiles. Iran has hundreds of these missiles positioned along its coastline. They are mobile, they are hidden, and they can be launched with very little warning. Second layer, fast attack boats. Small, highly maneuverable boats armed with rockets and torpedoes that can swarm larger ships. The US Navy calls these asymmetric threats because they are very difficult to defend against. Third layer, mines. Iran can deploy naval mines throughout the strait, forcing the US Navy to conduct slow, dangerous minesweeping operations. Fourth layer, drones. Cheap, expendable drones that can be used for reconnaissance or direct attacks. And here is what makes this strategy so effective. The US Navy has to defend every single ship that passes through the strait. Iran only has to hit one. If Iran sinks one oil tanker, if it damages one commercial vessel, if it even credibly threatens shipping, the entire global insurance market responds. Insurance rates for ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz skyrocket. Shipping companies refuse to send their vessels through the strait, and the flow of oil stops. Not because Iran physically blocked it, but because the economic risk became unacceptable. This is exactly what has happened right now. The Strait of Hormuz is not physically blocked by Iranian ships. There is no Iranian naval blockade. But commercial shipping has stopped anyway because the insurance costs and the security risks are too high. Iran has effectively closed the strait without firing a shot at commercial vessels. This is strategic genius, and it is checkmate. Now let me explain why the US Navy cannot reopen the strait by force. The American strategy for keeping the Strait of Hormuz open depends on one thing: sustained air superiority. The idea is that American aircraft can destroy Iranian missile sites, Iranian coastal defenses, Iranian fast attack boats, and Iranian command and control systems faster than Iran can replace them. And if America can maintain this pressure long enough, Iran will eventually run out of missiles, run out of boats, and run out of options. That is the theory. But here is the reality. Iran has been preparing for this exact scenario for 40 years. 40 years. Iran knows it cannot defeat the US Navy in conventional warfare. So, it has built an entire military doctrine around asymmetric warfare, around making the cost of American military operations in the Persian Gulf unacceptably high. Iranian missiles are mobile and hidden in underground bunkers and mountain tunnels. American airstrikes can destroy some of them, but they cannot destroy all of them. And the ones that survive can still threaten American ships and commercial vessels. Iranian fast attack boats are small, cheap, and numerous. America can sink dozens of them, but Iran has hundreds more. And it only takes one fast attack boat getting close enough to an American destroyer to cause serious damage. Iranian mines can be deployed quickly and are extremely difficult to detect and clear. Minesweeping operations are slow, dangerous, and resource-intensive. And while the US Navy is busy clearing mines, Iran can deploy more. This is a war of attrition. And in a war of attrition, Iran has the advantage because Iran is fighting in its own backyard while America is fighting 7,000 miles from home. Every American missile costs millions of dollars. Every American ship requires constant resupply. Every American sailor deployed to the Persian Gulf is a logistical and financial burden. Iran's costs are a fraction of America's costs. And Iran can sustain this conflict far longer than America can. And there is one more critical factor that almost nobody is talking about. The American people do not support this war. American public opinion is turning against the conflict. Gas prices in America have jumped nearly 80 cents per gallon. Inflation is rising. The economic pain is being felt by ordinary Americans. And the longer this war continues, the more unpopular it becomes. Iran does not have this problem. The Iranian government does not depend on public approval in the same way democratic governments do. Iran can sustain economic pain and military casualties far longer than America can sustain political pressure from its own population. So here's the checkmate. Iran controls the choke point. The US Navy cannot force the strait open without accepting unacceptable losses. Commercial shipping will not resume until the security situation improves. The global economy is being strangled. Oil prices are rising. Energy-dependent economies in Asia are facing fuel shortages, and America has no good options. If America escalates militarily, if it launches a full-scale invasion of Iran to seize control of the strait by force, the cost would be astronomical. The casualties would be enormous. The economic disruption would be catastrophic. And there is no guarantee of success. If America accepts a negotiated settlement, if it agrees to a ceasefire that leaves Iran in control of the strait, then America has effectively conceded that it cannot protect global energy supplies. And that destroys American credibility as a global superpower. Either option is a strategic defeat. That is checkmate. Now let me connect this to the bigger economic picture I have been discussing in previous videos. The entire global economy for the past 40 to 50 years has been built on cheap, accessible energy flowing freely through global trade routes. The Strait of Hormuz is the most critical of those trade routes. 21% of global oil passes through it every day. And now that choke point is closed. Not temporarily, structurally. Even if a ceasefire is reached tomorrow, even if diplomatic negotiations succeed, the fundamental reality has changed. The world now knows that Iran can close the Strait of Hormuz whenever it chooses, and that knowledge changes everything. Investors know it, shipping companies know it, energy importers know it. The strait is no longer a reliable route, and an unreliable route is effectively a closed route. This is why I keep saying the world you grew up in is ending. The world of cheap energy, reliable global supply chains, American military protection guaranteeing free trade, that world depended on choke points like the Strait of Hormuz remaining open. And now the most critical choke point in the global energy system is under the control of a nation actively at war with the United States. That is a structural change, not a temporary disruption. And the nations that understand this structural change, the nations that are already adapting their economies to a world without cheap Gulf energy, those nations will survive this transition. The nations that keep waiting for the old system to be restored, those nations will face economic devastation they are not prepared for. Subscribe for more analysis of this conflict and its global economic consequences explained in simple English. And tell me in the comments, do you think the US Navy can reopen the Strait of Hormuz by force? Or has Iran already won this strategic contest? I will see you next time.